Let me first of all give an introduction to the company and to myself. I represent a company called Vestas Wind Systems with its global headquarters in Denmark. And my name is Peter Ferro Broberg, and I'm a senior specialist in our PMO office covering the entire COO area. Meaning the complete global manufacturing and global procurement area. But I'll come much more back to what that means later on in this presentation. So the agenda for this session here and what I'll go through today is to give a bit of an introduction to the company I represent, Vestas Wind Systems. And then I'll go a bit more into the historic overview of the COO PMO that I represent here. And then we'll talk a bit about the PMO structure, how we have set up our organization for the PMO area. Go a bit more into the PMO objectives. Why are we here? What are we going to deliver from our department here? And then moving forward into the PMO results, so focusing on what have we delivered over the last year, and then also focus points for the next 12 months. Well, where that will be where we end with this session here. So first of all, the company I represent, Vestas Wind System, our vision and why we are here is we want to be the global leader in sustainable energy solutions. And we want to deliver the best-in-class energy solutions for the benefit of Vestas customer and the planet. So we want to work for a better planet for the benefit of everyone living here. The key objectives that we have as a company is to be the global leader in the wind power plant solutions. So key focus here is on the wind power. We also want to be the global leader in the wind service solutions, so providing service solutions for the turbines already installed, both our own turbines, but also other turbines out in the market, being able to deliver service for those. We want to deliver the lowest cost of energy solutions to the customers so that they can see a benefit of ordering power plants from Vestas instead of ordering for coal or nuclear or other kinds of energy solutions. And we want to deliver the best-in-class global operations. The values that we have as a company is three core values that we have, and then that is a part of everything we do in the company today. It's accountability, collaboration, and simplicity. That's the key values that are embedded in the organization. Just some very quick figures about Vestas. We have currently just above 23,000 employees globally, and we've been working with wind turbines and wind energy solutions for more than 35 years. We have more than 38,000 wind turbines around the globe that we are currently servicing, monitoring every day and servicing whenever needed. That is a total of around 76 gigawatts of wind turbines. In total, we have more than 63,000 turbines installed globally in 77 countries, spanning of 6 continents. The last quarter, so Q4 2017, we had a revenue of just above 3 billion euros. In total, we had a revenue in 2017 of just above 10 billion euros. So that's just some high-level figures about Vestas. If we should look at our locations, we are a global company. We have sales and service offices in many countries. We also have production spread around in US, in Brazil, different places in Europe, Russia, India, China. We also have global research in multiple countries. So we are truly a global company. And we also see that this map will be expanding. So there will be an even more global footprint in the coming years. Just very briefly about the organization. We have our group president and CEO, Anders Runevad. He is Swedish and has been our CEO for a number of years. And under him, we have what we call our executive area, and that's the 5 areas in the bottom. So service, manufacturing and global procurement, finance, power solutions, and sales. These are the 5 executive areas that we have in our organization. The organization part that I sit in is the one called manufacturing and global procurement. So that is the area where the PMO that I represent is located. But I'll also come more back to that a little bit later. Moving into the PMO story, then you can say the project management office for the COO area that I represent here was established back in 2011. At that time, it was a company in crisis, so a lot of organizational changes and a lot of restructuring was taking place at that time. And at that point, this PMO was established. It was not with, you can say, specialists, project management specialists of any kind sitting in that PMO at that time. It was mainly a number of project assistants that had been supporting projects directly that were put together in this PMO department. And I was then hired in as a specialist to try and develop project management processes and project management methodology. One of the first things we identified here and saw a need for was to develop a stage gate model. So taking some global best practice for how to do project management, how to divide a project into stages. That was one of the key areas we wanted to start with, but at the same time, we with these project assistants kept the focus of delivering day-to-day support to the projects. The projects still needed their daily support, but we at the same time then started to work on the actual development of a real project management organization. So that's where it all started. And one of the first really big deliveries that we as a PMO organization delivered was this stage gate model that was aligned globally. So it was a development that took place where we were involved from a COO PMO, but it was a global cooperation between the project management offices, also in our power solutions area where they do the new product development, in service and so on. So it was a globally aligned stage gate model. I'll just jump a bit into the model because it is such a key delivery from us as a PMO, and also something we still have the ownership of and constantly work with improving. Our stage gate model is called Vestas way to market. So it is the model we use to bring new products and technologies to the market. So the Vestas way to market model is our stage gate model, and it is the model we use for planning, managing, and executing new products, bringing new products to the markets, and developing new technologies. So that is what Vestas way to market is about. The Vestas way to market is a global stage gate model. So it is consisting of 7 stages and 7 gates, like any other stage gate model. So that is really not something we have invented from our side, but what we have done with this standard stage gate model that makes it our own model is that we have included the entire Vestas value chain into the model and develop what we call work areas. So a number of different work areas. This is, for example, project management, it's cost management, product design, process design, transport, quality, HSE, a lot of different work areas that we have identified. And for each of these work areas, we have then defined activities, deliveries, and milestones, so that all work areas and all stages, they have a number of predefined activities, deliveries, and milestones in them. And that is then the standard model that is used every time we start up a new project. So we have a standard stage gate model with between 600 and 700 activities and milestones that is then being tailored for every new project. So all projects, they have that as their baseline, and they can then adjust it to the specific project, and then they know exactly what to deliver, how to execute. All of that is given from the Vestas way to market model. So this model has really been a big change in the way we do projects in Vestas since it was introduced, because it means we have a common framework, we have a common language that we all speak, we all have the standard deliveries that we can relate to. We know exactly, if we are talking about a specific delivery inside the model, we know exactly what is expected, which templates to use to deliver that delivery. All of that is covered by the standard model. And even though the model was introduced back in 2012, we still spend a lot of time as a PMO developing this this project model, because every time we do projects, we conduct lessons learned that we from our area, from our PMO, we facilitate those lessons learned, and a lot of the learnings coming in from the projects, we implement those improvements through our stage gate model here. So that could be through new or changed activities and deliveries, or changes in timing of when a certain delivery needs to take place. Is it stage 3? Is it stage 4? And so on. So we're constantly adjusting the model based on lessons learned and changes in the way we do projects. So it is a living model, and it is something that we still, the day-to-day, spend time on adjusting and improving based on lessons learned. The Vestas way to market model, besides having a lot of activities and milestones in, it also gives us the overview of the interdependencies we have between the value chains. So when designers are designing a new product, then the model is also showing what needs to be delivered from the design area into the manufacturing area, for example, or into the procurement area, or what needs to be delivered from sales and marketing towards the design before we even start. All of these interdependencies between the key deliveries in the model have also been identified, and it gives us a good overview of you can say the really key deliveries and how they, if they are not delivered on time, how they affect the other parts of the value chain. So we know how we are all dependent on each other. That is developed into the model, and it gives us a much better overview of the dependencies between the complete Vestas organization. The projects that are used or that are following this stage gate model, that's the service solution projects and technology projects. So those projects where we develop new service solutions or new technologies. It is what we call platform projects, and the platform projects, that is when we introduce completely new wind turbines to the markets. They use this Vestas way to market model. We use the model for local content projects, and local content projects are those projects where we are entering new markets, but there are specific market requirements that means we need to set up local production or a local supply chain in those countries. In order to do that in a structured way, we use the Vestas way to market model. And finally, the technology transfer projects, where we transfer new technologies out to our factories globally or out to our suppliers. We also use the model for those areas. The COO PMO that I represent, we are responsible for driving the local content projects and the technology transfer projects. So that means all those projects falling into that category, we take the ownership and responsibility of ensuring that they follow the stage gate model, that the project is using the model and delivering what is required from the model. That is the responsibility of the PMO that I represent, that we ensure that. And then we have another PMO in our technology and service solutions department that ensure that the new technologies that are developed are following the same methodology. Coming back to the PMO story here, after we have developed the stage gate model here, we started focusing a lot more on project process and methodology in terms of project governance. So governance here meaning how do we set up with steering committees, gatekeepers for the projects, that they know their role, what does it mean to be a steering committee member, what does it mean to be a gatekeeper, and so on. Those things were made much clearer, and we from a PMO drove the ensuring that this was defined and rolled out into the organization. In 2013, we also had some big issues in terms of financial control in our projects, ensuring that we only spent what we were allowed to. We had a lot of issues with the financial systems, meaning that the projects were not in control of their finances. So during 2013, we from a PMO developed solutions ensuring that we gained control of our project finances and ensuring that we stick to the budgets that were given to us. And we have seen that since this work was put in, we are now in much better control of our project finances, and our that our Kpis in our projects are not getting out of control, and we stick to the budget that has been given to us. In 2013, we also started using Microsoft Project as a project planning tool. We've since then moved into, later on, moved into Microsoft Project Professional. So the project server solution, having project plans on the server, constantly monitoring progress in the plans. But back in 2013, we started using Microsoft Project Planning. And the way we did that was taking the standard stage gate model that I have just shown you, so our Vestas way to market project model, and all those deliveries from that model. Whenever a new project was started, the Vestas way to market model was tailored, and then it was converted automatically into a Microsoft project plan, showing the project, the specific project, which deliveries they had stage by stage for each work area in the model. So it gave the project managers a really good start project planning wise, because they did not need to start making up their own plan. They actually had all the standard deliveries from the model that they could then start to do detailed planning on, in terms of who is responsible for delivering each activity and start finish dates and so on, the kind of detailed planning that you do in Microsoft Project. Sorry. So we that was another key point for us, that we actually started getting much better control of our project planning. We also in 2013 developed what we call a project management plan. A project management plan is similar to a project contract. So it is the contract that the project makes with the business, showing exactly in detail what is in scope, what's out of scope, what are the assumptions made for the project, high-level milestone plans, some of the strategies around the project, so risk management strategies, communication strategies, all of these strategies that you should define when starting up a project. They were developed and implemented into the project management plan, where we developed from a PMO, developed a project management plan template with as much description in as possible that we could do up front. And then the projects only needed to do smaller modifications, and this of course described the details around their scope and so on. And then that became the contract that was signed by the gatekeepers, ensuring that there was a clear overview of what is being delivered by the project. And it gave us a much better possibility to also do change management in the project. So if any changes occurred to the project, to the scope, to the budget, it was handled in a much more structured way, because we had the contract that we could then update, and we could see what was the impact to the project with these changes. So that was some of the key deliveries from our PMO here in 2013. In 2014, what then came in was much more focus on the project execution model, and we introduced Prince2. So we developed a project execution model, which is sort of explaining the rules around doing projects. So it is structuring the whole thing about project governance. It is taking in roles and responsibilities in projects, and it's taking the whole Prince2 methodology into consideration, describing how do we work with projects. And during 2014, we also trained and certified all our project managers working with Vestas Way to Market projects. They were trained and certified in Prince2 Foundation. So it meant that all our project managers, they had like the same foundation for when we talked about projects, when we talked about process and methodology, that we could refer to the same principles from Prince2. In 2015, we saw in our PMO, the one that we sit in now, is that we sort of increased our scope quite a lot, because in 2015 was when we also took on board driving all business development projects. And business development projects, that's all the projects where we as a company need to enter a new market and set up a local supply chain or production in one of these new markets. We saw back then a big need for or from government side in many different countries. They said if they wanted to invest in new green energy, they wanted to ensure that it also created new jobs in the country and investments in the country. And therefore we committed to establishing global production or local production in many new countries. And we from a PMO were running those projects and ensuring that we were monitoring and structuring the projects the right way. So that was a massive increase of scope for our PMO. And in 2015, we also, based on the Prince2 methodology, we developed global project management processes that we have implemented through our Vestas process portal, where we have all our global processes defined. In 2015, we also introduced into the PMO a portfolio management department. Before 2015, the portfolio management in the COO area had been very poor, and it had been quite unstructured. Which new projects were coming in, prioritization of projects were not really taking place as they should. So in 2015, we really saw a need for doing something about this. So from a PMO side, we established as a sub-department into the PMO, we established a portfolio management department, and we also established a portfolio board that could then handle all the new projects coming in, handle the prioritizations and major changes coming into the projects that required a management approval. So that's where we established the portfolio board. Just very quickly, coming back to the project management processes I mentioned, then this is just an overview of what we have done in terms of implementing the Prince2 methodology. You can see on the top here, we have the Vestas Way to Market stages. So these are the stages we have in our stage gate model, going from gate 0 to gate 7. And then we have the directing, managing, and delivering stages from the Prince2 methodology that we then have described here. And if you drill into each of these process steps here, you can read the detailed steps from Prince2 and from the way we work with projects in Vestas. So this is how we have taken the Prince2, you can say, global best practice and implemented it as a project management process, but also into our stage gate model. In 2016, some of the new things that we from a PMO developed and implemented here was a resource management system for our projects. We saw a need to be in better control of our resources in the projects. There was back then, or still we have that now, but there was a big need for starting up a large number of projects, and we could see that we simply did not have the resources required to deliver all the projects. So we realized that we needed to be in much better control of our resources in our departments. And therefore, we implemented a resource management tool and a resource management process so that we could say every time we start up projects, we request through this system, request resources from the departments saying, over the next, over the next 12 months, we need 2,000, 3,000 hours from this department spread over these months, and with these roles that needs to be fulfilled. And then it's the line managers that in the system allocate those resources. That means we make sure from a project side that we have the resources and that the line managers have committed the resources that are needed for the projects. And it also means that the line managers, they can then see if they are suddenly being overbooked, so more requests are coming in that they actually have capacity, then it needs to be raised and you need to start looking into prioritization. Can we shuffle some of the projects around, and that's where we can use the portfolio management, or can we hire in external consultants, or is it a more permanent situation that we need additional resources so that you can, as a department, hire in new resources. So the resource management system here that we implemented in 2016 is still a key part of what we do today in a PMO, because we are the owners of this system, and we are constantly ensuring that we have all the projects in there, that the projects are following the process and the methodology, and also we can constantly do reporting on, are we where we should be in terms of resources? Are the hours being registered together with, you can say, have the same amount of resource been registered on the project as was requested? So we can constantly monitor on was the request similar to what is actually being spent in the hours in the project. So we have a good overview of the number of hours from each department that we spend in our projects. Also for the benefit of future projects, so that they can use that as benchmark when they do requests, resource requests for the new project starting up. So it gives us a lot of data that we can use to improve the line of sight and the way we foresee the resource needs in future projects. In 2016, we also started up doing what is called a P3M3 assessment. So we wanted to do a assessment on the maturity of the way we do project management and portfolio management. So we did a P3M3 assessment of our own department, looking at how good are we at doing project management and how good are we at doing portfolio management. And the reason was that we were thinking we have done so many things, we've implemented so many things from a PMO, but we want to make sure that we are actually, as a company, maturing in the way we do project management and portfolio management. So we did this self-assessment to see how do we how do we score on the different parameters that is in the P3M3 model. And then after having done that, we also used it to set some targets for how mature do we want to be in this area. So for example, if we scored a 1.7 in risk management, then we said, okay, we want to develop it over the next 2 years into a 2.5 in risk management. In the benefits management, we want to develop into this score, and so on. So we used it to say, where are we now? And then we also set some targets for where do we want to go 2-3 years from now in terms of maturity. So which areas is it in this model that we want to focus on improving? And then we used those targets to develop a roadmap for what is it we want to do the next years. So in 2016, we became much clearer on what is it we want to do the next 12 months, because we used this maturity assessment to set some targets, and therefore also setting some initiatives that we wanted to start. Some of the other things very quickly we introduced in 2016 was standardized project reporting, so making it a lot easier for the project managers to do reporting. They did not, until then, they had been doing PowerPoint slides themselves and putting in pictures and putting in all kinds of stuff that they were coming up with themselves. But we developed an online system or an online tool where they could, based on some basic data that they could just fill in, then it created the graphs and the overviews and the risks overviews and the progress reports that were needed in the project reports. And at the same time, we could take some data out of the different systems financially and project management or project planning wise and so on, and put those into the reports automatically. So it meant that the reporting became much more standardized, but also that it became much easier for the project managers. And one last thing we implemented in 2016 was a project review structure, meaning that we wanted to ensure that the projects did not progress too far with open issues. So we used the standard stage gate model that I showed you earlier on to develop a review structure that we then, before each gate passage, we knew we had a very clear review structure, knowing exactly what must be reviewed, what must be approved by who before we pass or go to a gate meeting. So that review structure was introduced in 2016, and it is something we're today still working on. And we as a PMO, we're facilitating the review meetings to ensure that we actually conduct these review meetings in a structured way, and that we have the right people sign off before moving on in the projects. The last point I have here, 2016, I'll come much more back to 2016 when I in one of my later slides. But one of the key parts that we drove in 2016 was related to a Vestas strategic initiative, where we said we need to reduce the time to market. So the time it takes from us starting up a development project until we have full ramp up in our production and at our suppliers, we need to reduce that time significantly. So we were leading a number of initiatives to reduce time to market, and for the benefit of the future products that we're bringing into the market now, that we are leading a lot of these initiatives. This was done together with an external consultancy company that were supporting us in identifying these initiatives and making sure that we got them structured and got them prioritized. And now from a PMO, we are then leading the progress of all these initiatives that needs to be implemented. Some of them are already implemented now, and some will be during 2018. The third part here that I will be presenting is the PMO that we sit in. We have the COO PMO that we have. We have a head of the PMO. His name is Josh Steinagel. He's the head of the COO PMO. And then we have 3 FTEs working in the project excellence department. We have 2 FTEs working in the portfolio management department, and then we have 18 FTEs working as project managers. So the PMO that we have, as I mentioned earlier, we're covering the COO area. So the projects we're working with, they are related to transferring new technologies out into our factories. They are related to business development in new markets, so setting up production, local production or local supply chain in new markets. And we are also running a number of small IT projects that needs to be rolled out into the CO organization. So that's the organization we have. We do have from time to time a number of consultants that are hired in either in the project excellence portfolio management area or especially in the project management department. So when we have peaks, when we have more projects than we from a project management point of view can take in, we hire in a number of consultants, and currently we have 3 consultants additionally to this this overview here. But that's the team that I'm in. I sit in the project excellence area, and I'm one of those 3 FTEs that we have here. The PMO relationship. So as I mentioned earlier, we sit as a part of the manufacturing and global procurement organization. We have a similar organization in our power solutions area. So the power solutions area, that's the area that are developing new technologies, and we are then implementing them into the organization. But in the power solutions area, they have 2 departments. One is the process excellence department, where they have a number of process specialists working similar to our project and portfolio management department. And then they have similarly a head of PMO that has all the project managers. So in Power Solutions, the organization that we have as one, they have divided that into 2 separate departments with 2 separate line managers. And these are then the main people that we work together with, because the projects that we are all executing, they are following the same stage gate model. So the Vestas way to market stage gate model that we have, the Prince2 methodology, the project management methodology that we have, that is the same no matter if you sit in manufacturing and global procurement or if you sit in power solutions. So all of that work is something that is done together with our colleagues in power solutions. Just a bit further into the relationships that we have. I've just tried to visualize it here. We have technology projects where we are developing new technologies that we at some point in the future want to implement into the new turbines. Then we have a platform project, which are when we implement or introduce a new platform to the market. So a platform project will consist of a number of new technologies that are then integrated into a platform project that is following a stage gate model. And then finally, we have what we call global rollouts. So these are all the projects where we are rolling out the new technologies to our factories. So that could be new blades, new generators, new rotors, new towers, new gearboxes, all these new components that we are manufacturing at our own factories or at external suppliers. We run projects that we call global rollout or technology transfer projects, where we take the new technologies and roll them out into our factories. And the global rollout projects, they are the ones that we from our PMO we are taking on. The project management office objectives. So from our department, what we have defined here is we want to deliver high project success rates and effective project execution to enable operational excellence and growth in emerging markets. So this is the high level objectives that we have for our office here. We have then divided it into the 3 departments that we have. So one on project excellence, where we've said we want to drive continuous improvement of project execution through competence development, so through training, development of employees, methods, standardization, and knowledge management. That's really what we're driving from a project excellence point of view. From a portfolio management point of view, we'll be driving the project prioritization through increased cross-functional planning and active management of resources, projects, and performance in accordance with the Vestas strategy. And from a project management point of view, we've said we want to deliver excellent project management in projects in the COO area. So that means local content projects, technology transfer or rollout projects, IT business systems implementation. They are the project types that we, from our project manager side, are delivering to the organization. If I should then try and look at some of the PMO results over the last 12 months, I believe that was bullet number 5. to be included in this presentation here. A key area that we have focused on is clear portfolio overview. So increasing the line of sight is really the focus here. And what we have done is we've seen in the past that very often projects, they just came up and we needed to start focusing and delivering them from day one. And we were more or less already delayed from the day we started, simply because we didn't start the projects early enough. So with the portfolio management implemented and the portfolio boards implemented, we can see that we have increased the line of sight. So we know in much more in advance now which new projects are coming. So that also means it gives us a better chance to actually proper start up the projects and plan the projects to make sure that all of that is structured much better. And we can see a clear benefit of that, because if we do the planning and the setup early and we do it right from the beginning, it eases the execution of the project very much. So the increased line of sight has really helped us in terms of being much better at starting up new projects. As I mentioned earlier, standardized automated reporting. So we are to a larger extent now using the systems data to consolidate the project reports. So we now that we have project plans on the Microsoft project server, we can extract reports on progress from the project plans. We have SAP implemented for all of the finances in the project, meaning that we can extract really good standardized reports on that. And the same with risk management, standardized risk management reports that we can consolidate for the individual projects, so that the reporting is standardized, but we can also from our side consolidate this to a portfolio level, so we can give a portfolio overview of how are we performing project planning wise, financially, risk wise, and so on, because all of this is automated and no longer sitting in individual PowerPoints and so on. Having the increased line of sight and then being in much better control of which projects are coming also means that we have been able to standardize a project kickoff much more. So we know exactly what we need to do from a project is started until it is ready to pass a gate 2, where you can say the scope, the budgets, the plans, they are locked when we go to a gate 2. And that planning, that detailed planning from startup until gate 2, we have been able to standardize that much more, and we've been able to set a really good flow that we can execute for all new projects, simply because we have the possibility to do it, because we have increased the line of sight. Early on, it was very often that we needed a budget tomorrow because we need to start investments right away. And by doing that, we were not in control of all the planning, all the scoping, all of this, and it led to many changes later on in the projects. But the increased line of sight has made it possible for us to do a standardized project kickoff and make sure that the projects get properly planned in the beginning. We have also, with having introduced the resource management tools and the resource management systems, we now, where we have this system up and running, we can see we are in much better control of the resources. So we know which departments are the resource constraint departments. We can also use this to simulate if a new project is coming in, we want to start a new project, we can look at what constraints will that give us in terms of resources. Do we need to hire in consultants? Do we need additional resources, or do we need to put other projects on hold? That is something we can start, or we have started to use in the last 12 months, because we have the resource management system implemented. Standardized project budgeting using SAP. Last year, we introduced SAP in the entire manufacturing and procurement area, meaning that the project budgeting has been much more standardized, and standard structure for setting up the project finances, and also approving of purchase orders is happening in a standard workflow. Early on, it was happening through a paper trail, paper system, but now it's actually happening inside SAP in a system, following the delegated authority that we have in the company. So it gives us much better structure and approval flow of the expenses in our projects. We've also introduced project Kpis. So what is it that we are measuring the projects on? We know exactly what is the quality target that they need to meet at the end, at the audit taking place at the end of the project. We know exactly what are they being measured on in terms of use of resources, budgets, and so on. And it is a part of the annual development dialogue that we have with the project managers, that are they meeting their project KPIs. We've also introduced the resource templates, so meaning based on all the lessons learned or the historical data we have on time spent or hours spent on projects, we can actually already, when we identify that we have a new project, we can identify which similar project do we have from the past, and then we can use that as a resource template, so we know exactly for the future projects how many resources do we know. Just a year or two ago, this was based on best guesses, but no facts. So that is really a key change here, that we are in much better control of our resource and resource estimations looking forward. And as I already mentioned, standardized review structure in our projects is something that is really running today. From a PMO side, we developed this review structure, and we implemented this, and we are the ones facilitating these reviews in the projects, ensuring a higher maturity level for the projects before passing the gates. Looking forward, so what is it that we will be doing in the next 12 months? As I mentioned earlier on, there is a strategic goal here in Vestas, that we need to reduce the time to market from starting up a new development to running fully global production. We are leading a number of those initiatives so that we can ensure that from a project management point of view, we can reduce do what we can to reduce the time to market. So we have a number of initiatives that we are running to ensure that we can meet the Vestas targets for time to market. We have also seen that we can increase quite a lot in terms of starting up a new project. So 50% reduction in time from we initiate a project until we pass gate 2. That is another goal that we need to meet, and very much there is based on the project management work that needs to take place, that we can very quickly set the resource demands, set the timelines based on historical data. We can set the scope, make it much easier to have all these things in place, so that we can very quickly get to a gate 2 and start with actually the delivery of the project. That's another part that we are delivering and focusing on this year here. I've already mentioned it a few times, but full utilization of resource management, simply to ensure that based on the historical data that we now have and we can start to use, that we simply now in the projects that we're starting up now, we can use that historical data from day 1 of the project until the project is closing. That's a massive improvement in terms of being in control from a portfolio, but also on a project point of view, and also in the line organization, that they know exactly what is coming, how many resources do they need to budget with in their own resources, or in their own department, sorry. Another thing that we will be implementing during this year is enterprise resource system. The system is really that in the Microsoft Project Server 2013, you have the possibility of adding enterprise resources, so that inside your project plans, you can add enterprise resource. All employees in Vestas are part of the enterprise resource system. And that means that whenever I assign a person inside my project plan, I assign a person to a specific delivery or specific task in the project plan, the person gets notification that now you have a task with this due date, and the person can then himself or herself go in and mark progress in the task without opening up the project plans, or without actually needing to go into Microsoft project plans, but simply just updating the task status, and that then gets implemented in the overall project plan for the project manager. So it's a way of ensuring that we get much better tracking on the progress of the individual tasks and deliveries that we have inside the project plans. So that is something we have tried it in a couple of projects the last months, and it is something that we've decided that we will start to implement. during this year here. Another big thing that will be coming, that will take a lot of the PMO resources from our side, is that we will be implementing portfolio management, the SAP module for portfolio management called SAP PPM. It has been decided to implement that for all of Vestas, so all projects running will be a part of this portfolio management tool in SAP. So right now the application is being developed, being modified to Vestas needs, and then after the summer, so at some point in August, we will start to implement this portfolio management tool into the complete Vestas organization. We will also later this year do another P3M3 assessment, simply to evaluate the project and portfolio maturity. So then we can see how have we increased since we last did this assessment in 2016. And we can also use this to set some new targets. Which areas is it we want to improve going beyond 2018? And then we can set the initiatives based on those targets that we want to meet. So we'll be using the assessment being done here later to see how have we matured as we would like, and also look at what are the targets for the next 2 years. So that's how we will be using this assessment here. And that is actually all from my presentation here. I believe I'm not 100% sure when I started. I think I started just a little bit early, so I think my time is also almost up. I don't know if there are any formality that we need to in order to close this session here, or if we can say this is it. The video has now been recorded.